Hi, everybody, and welcome to Lovefraud Live. Yes, the red flags were there. I saw behaviors in the man that I married far too quickly that were warning signs of his sociopathic personality disorder. I didn't know what they meant, so I didn't pay attention to them. Big mistake. I'm Donna Andersen, author of Lovefraud.com, and today I'm going to tell you about the 10 red flags of a sociopath that I saw with my ex-husband but did not understand. This is a live streaming show, and I'll answer your questions at the end, so please send them along by chat as we go along. My book, Red Flags of Love Fraud, this one here, 10 Signs You're Dating a Sociopath, reveals the tactics of social predators who pursue romantic relationships not for love, but for exploitation. This book explains how sociopaths seduce their targets, why it's so hard to escape the relationships, and how you can protect yourself. Most people targeted by sociopaths actually see the warning signs, but don't know how to interpret them. Red Flags of Love Fraud explains the patterns of behavior so you can tell the difference between real love and exploitation. Now, I, of course, was the original guinea pig for the book. I met my ex-husband, James Montgomery, on the internet more than 20 years ago. He was a widower, originally from Australia, but at the time living near me in New Jersey. Montgomery told me that he was a Hollywood screenwriter, a successful entrepreneur, and a military hero. He was none of those, but unfortunately, at the time, I didn't know to be on the lookout for lies. So here are some of the red flags of love fraud that I missed with James Montgomery. Red flag number 1, charisma and charm. Montgomery had a magnetic energy about him. He was smooth and confident and always knew what to say, never missed a beat. He was prolific in his admiration and praise for me, especially in the beginning of our relationship. Initially, every time we got together, he had a gift for me. Now, even back then, I suspected that the gifts had belonged to his recently deceased wife, but I let it slide. I was pleased that he was thinking of me. I later learned that he had a habit of stealing from one woman that he was involved with to give gifts to another woman he was involved with. Here's red flag number 2, sudden soulmates. Montgomery told me that I was the woman he'd been waiting for all his life. We were both writers. We were both entrepreneurs. We had so much in common that it must be fate. We were destined to be together. He also told me that because we were so perfect for each other, he'd never feel the need to cheat again. Well, that statement should have been a double red flag with sirens blaring, but I accepted it at face value. With me, unlike my predecessors, Montgomery would be faithful. In reality, he cheated with multiple women throughout our entire relationship. Here's red flag number 3, sexual magnetism. Yes, there was sex. In the beginning, there was lots of sex, and it was rambunctious. I interpreted this as an indication of Montgomery's desire for me. In fact, when he sent me a short story, an erotic short story, starring James and Donna, I was flattered. No man had ever written a sexy story for me. Except he didn't write the story. He stole it from one of his previous girlfriends, and after he sent it out to all his women, just copying and pasting the latest target's name. So after he sent it to me, he sent it to someone else. Except that he forgot to change my name throughout the entire story. So he received an angry email from one of his other targets demanding to know, who is this Donna chick? Okay, here's red flag number 4, love bombing. From the moment I responded to James Montgomery's dating profile, which was on AOL, if you remember that, he poured it on. Phone calls, emails, faxes. Of course, this was before there was social media. He proclaimed his love, he sent me poetry, he flattered me by asking for my opinion on his business proposal. He also told me that he was still attached, was the word he used, to special military forces and was going on a clandestine overseas mission. But he was so smitten with me that he moved heaven and earth to come back to visit me right in the middle of the mission. Afterwards, of course, I learned that he never left the county. He was entertaining another woman in his deceased wife's townhouse. Red flag number 5, blames others for everything. Nothing was ever James Montgomery's fault. If he failed or something went wrong, he always had someone else to blame. So why did his grandiose plans to build a new type of entertainment venue fall through? Well, the government took his land. The truth, of course, was that he never had the land to begin with. And then there was the time that we went out to a restaurant and his credit card was declined. What was his excuse for that one? Well, the investors were trying to squeeze him for a better deal. Of course, there were no investors and they have nothing to do with credit cards. So eventually it became, why didn't we have any money? Well, it was because I didn't have faith in him. It was all my fault, even though he was the one spending all the money. Okay, here's red flag number 6, lies and gaps in the story. I will admit, the lies that I caught early on were so minor that they were easy to overlook. Like if Montgomery and the wife before me had just come to New Jersey in the past year, how did she go to a particular shoe store like 2.5 years earlier? To cover his big lies, like his fake military service, Montgomery was totally consistent in his story, saying the same thing to everyone. He fabricated documentation to back up his claims. But what was really convincing was the sheer brazenness of his statements. Who would lie about earning Australia's highest military honor during the Vietnam War? Well, James Montgomery, the sociopath, would. Unfortunately, I didn't know about sociopaths, nor about their ability to smoothly lie about absolutely anything. Red flag number 7, intense eye contact. Anyone who believes liars can't look you in the eye, well, they've never been lied to by a sociopath. I remember all the times that Montgomery looked deep into my eyes and made statements and promises that I now know to be total fabrications. And then there's the other aspect of the eyes. Sometimes the eyes of a sociopath appear to be empty or dead. I call them shark eyes. At times, Montgomery appeared to be staring blankly, as if nobody was home inside, and there wasn't anybody home inside. Red flag number 8, moves fast to hook up. Within a few days of us meeting in person, Montgomery wanted us to coordinate our schedules, planning well in advance when we would spend the night at his house and when we would spend the night at my house. And then he wanted us to marry before the end of the year, supposedly so that I would be eligible to receive benefits from his military pension. Of course, he was never in the military, so there was no pension. The whole story was a ruse to get his hooks into me faster. Red flag number 9, the pity play. Montgomery plotted our entire initial meeting around the pity play. First, he pulled out his wedding pictures with his previous wife, who had died, to make me feel bad for the poor grieving widower. And then, when I expressed hesitation, didn't he think it was a little too soon for him to become involved in a new relationship? His eyes became moist, and he talked about all the people he'd lost. His wife, his father, his buddies from Vietnam, and how they would all want him to move on. The truth was that he did lose his father and his wife, but there were no buddies from Vietnam. His whole performance was designed to make me feel sorry for him so that he could therefore manipulate me. Finally, here's red flag number 10, Jekyll and Hyde personality. I never knew when I would encounter the loving Montgomery or the rager. Here's an example. Montgomery wanted me to convert my basement into an office for him, which I agreed to do, and of course I paid for. It wasn't fancy, but he said that he was happy with it. But then, when he was angry with me, he complained about being forced to work in a dank, dark cellar. And then, when he was happy again, the basement was perfectly fine. And then, when he was angry again, he hated it. So, did Montgomery like his office, or did he hate it? I have no idea. But his changing whims served their purpose. They kept me off balance. So, my book, Red Flags of Love Fraud, is about the real relationships from hell. They usually start out as a whirlwind of love and romance, and then, sooner or later, spiral down into lies, cheating, manipulation, and abuse. They are the worst relationships that you can imagine, but they are totally preventable if you know how to read the warning signs, which is exactly what I talk about in the book. Now, after hearing this little presentation, if you're interested in reading more about my personal experience of being married to a sociopath, I tell the entire wild story in my first book, which is called Love Fraud. Here it is. How marriage to a sociopath fulfilled my spiritual plan. It reads like a cross between a true crime novel and a spiritual journey. And I think the most valuable part of the book is that it explains why Montgomery, the sociopath, came into my life, which is probably something all of you have asked yourselves. I think my answers will help you. Okay, so, wow, looks like we got some chats going. Let me see if we have any questions. Okay, Lisa says, the problem was that I ignored myself and listened to the sociopath. Never ignore yourself over someone else. And that is exactly the truth. We all do it. You know, I mean, I had warning signs. I had a bad feeling about things that were going on, and I didn't pay attention to it. And it's the same thing that we all do. And I want to point out that yes, we don't listen to ourselves, you know, when our instincts and our intuition are telling us that something is wrong. But I don't think we should be hard on ourselves about this, because keep in mind that as a society, we are not taught or encouraged to listen to our intuition. In fact, we get messages to the opposite, messages like everybody's innocent until proven guilty. You know, well, if your intuition is telling you something's wrong, it's not, you don't have evidence. You just have a feeling and an instinct and a gut reaction that something's wrong. But the thing is, you know, we get all these people telling us, oh, well, you know, you can't prove that, or you need evidence or something like that. And so consequently, we don't trust ourselves. So learning to trust ourselves and to listen to ourselves is a really big deal, and it's something that we all should work on, and because our instincts are there to protect us, and they will send us in the right direction. Okay, let's see. Oh, Lisa, looks like Lisa read my book. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah, Lisa says, I grew up thinking everyone was good. Again, you know, those are the messages that we get from our culture. You know, we're all created equal. Everybody has good inside. Everybody just wants to be loved. So learning about sociopaths is, I mean, not only are we learning that they exist and what the warning signs are, But we also need to unlearn all these messages that we've been getting all our lives, like everywhere, in school, in church, in women's magazines. So coming to realize that these predators live among us and that there's millions of them, like probably 30 million. Oh, I'm sorry, it's a bigger number than that. Oh no, 30 million. It's probably 30 million adults in the United States. I mean, that's massive, and nobody's talking about it. So becoming aware of this is a really big deal and a really big accomplishment, because not only are you educating yourself, but you're overcoming the bad information that we've been spoon-fed our entire lives. So it's we all should be congratulating ourselves on how much progress we've made in protecting ourselves. Okay, let's see if we have anything else. Ooh, Lexi Blake says, you explain me, but what if we're all sociopaths? Well, I guess you're suggesting that you feel that you're disordered. I can say that we're not all sociopaths. There are distinct criteria and distinct issues, but there are degrees, and if anyone who is concerned that they might have some level of disorder, well, the first step in the right direction is the fact that you're concerned. And if you are concerned, then that probably means you're at the low end of the scale, because people who are truly disordered are not concerned. They actually, in some cases, are proud of themselves. So there's definitely two types of people out there. There are those who are disordered, and there are those who are not. And although it's not a real sharp edge, because everything's on a continuum, so people can have different levels of personalities and different levels of disorder. Okay. All right, all-purpose video. I don't get it. He doesn't do any of these things, but he is around. He stays by me, but he is neglecting. How do you know if something is wrong versus something being right for the first time? I have a bad feeling, but I have never experienced this in my life before. Always trust your instincts. Your body knows, your instincts know, and instincts are baked into our DNA. They're baked into our biology, and the whole purpose of our instincts is to protect us from predators. I mean, this ability goes way back to caveman days, when we were, cavemen and cave women running away from saber-toothed tigers. And so your body knows that something's wrong. So if you're getting a bad feeling, you should pay attention to that, because that's the best warning that you'll ever get. And then if you're struggling to figure out exactly what the issues are, then you want to educate yourself about the warning signs. But the key is to trust your instincts. Okay, what else do we have? All right, well, that appears to be it as far as questions and comments are concerned. So once again, thank you for stopping by for this episode of Lovefraud Live, and we'll be here next week as well. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.